disciples. We're so grateful to be joined today by the Reverend Dr. John Foulkes. My name is Reverend Yvonne Gilmore, and I have the privilege of serving as Interim Administrative Secretary of the National Convocation. And I'm so thrilled to be joined by the Reverend Dr. John Foulkes, who is many things. One of them is he formerly served as Administrative Secretary of the National Convocation and Associate General Minister of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ from '86 to 2004. Before that, he comes out of Chicago, where I greet you and hail from today, yay, where he was the pastor of, senior minister of Parkway Gardens Christian Church. He is a part of the Light of the World Christian Church there in Indianapolis. Now he worked for was on the Chicago Board of Education when he was here in Chicago, was part of the Juvenile Justice Project Committee of the Chicago Disciples Union, the Douglas Tubman Christian Center Board, Boy Scouts of America Scoutmaster, and as a gang detached volunteer with the Chicago Men's Christian Association. He also has been on the board of the Black Disciples Endowment Fund. And so we're just grateful for the wealth of experience, of spirit and vision that he has shared over the years, and particularly for how he's going to tell us and about the Black Disciples Endowment Fund. So Dr. Foulkes, welcome. We're just always delighted to chat with you. And so want to invite you to tell us about what is the Black Disciples Endowment Fund? Why is it important?
And I'm going to try to paint a picture to have you sit at a table. John R. Compton has known as being the man of first because there's many positions he held for the first time, but every time he held a position, it was a result of the work of numbers of people behind the scene who brought the position into reality. He had just retired at this point in history as the president of DHM, and had gone back to his hometown of Cincinnati and was trying to be nice, like playing like he was helping to pastor a church. And all of a sudden, I see him on the phone and he says, "We need to have a conversation." The conversation ended up in Kansas City. And we're sitting at a table with S.S. Myers, who was the architect of the entire merger process. S.S. Myers was so invested in that process that numbers of people were afraid of one S.S. Myers. Another person at the table was Raymond E. Brown, which was the Black walking computer. He was the entire mainframe and retained all the history in his mind and could call upon it at any moment. There was John Compton, who had been nurtured to be the presenting agent of all the work that Black folk were doing. I was the new kid on the block, and they made sure that this technician at least was sitting at the table. And Robert Welch was serving as interim president of Christian Church Foundation. And so they began the discussion, and John Compton laid out his argument, which is still the primary argument. He said, in essence, that the way church does ministry and how the way the church is going to be doing ministry, that this reliance upon someone else to develop program for them, or this sense of loyalty and connection to other folk because you got the same name, is really no longer going to be the prevalent motivation for how you do ministry. Everyone's going to find ways of using the internet and other resources to do ministry. And the relationship that we presently have with one another is going to move to a different place. So it can't be the basis of benevolence through which money is coming in to enable us to do what we want to do. He's saying, in essence, we will not be able to just be the recipients of someone else's benevolence in order to do that which we are charged to do. That's point number one.
Mhm.
Point number two, Preston Taylor literally gave his life and everything he had to undergird and set in motion this thing called the National Christian Missionary Convention. And in the process of merger, if you look closely at that stuff, the National Christian Missionary Convention did not disappear. It's alive and well and functioning and self-sustaining. But since Preston Taylor's gift of literally everything. If you read his will, and he says, in essence, my wife has been cared for during my life. I'm giving everything I got to the church. And if she objects to it, she's not going to get what she's going to get. He was serious about where he gave his life. But since that time, we have been persons waiting for somebody else to foot the bill for our dreams and our wants and desires. And then we wonder why our dreams are not being actualized, our wants and desires are being forgotten. That was his opening statement. And SS just responded to that because that's a place that SS has been maybe 30 or 40 years prior to that. And so that he was on board. And Raymond Brown, who carried all the history in his head, just kept a note of it. And Robert Welch was there because when we get our money together, we want it invested. And through that investment, we want things to go well. So we began, and it was shortly thereafter that John Compton became a part-time staff person of Christian Church Foundation. And John, in terms of his presenting of himself, he knew how to ask you for what you didn't know you had, or what you didn't want to give, or you thought you were going to ignore him. And so therefore, he was the ideal person to continue to push the pushing of the fund. And so when we got up and started working, so we started approaching $1 million, and things were looking well. And Robert Welch made a statement that, excuse me, that really claimed our attention at this initial table. Yeah. He says, as soon as you ask someone to give of their resources to an endowment, you need to immediately start granting out of that endowment so that those who are donating can see the results of their donation in the ministries that were emerging. That's right. So from that next year, we began giving grants. And we've worked real hard to polish up that grant process. And Church Foundation has done a great job in terms of handling our investments. So I think at this point, we're a little bit above $770,000 we've given in grants.
That's right. Yeah, 777,000. That's right.
And so we've done real well in terms of being a basis of resourcing our own ability to be empowered and be effective. Yeah. We've not done so well in terms of making sure that the investment itself grows by virtue of our contribution of that which we might contribute to make it sustain. So that's the Black Disciples Endowment Fund. And there's something that often gets lost in the merger process. Some folk feel good about the jobs that we've gained. Some folk feel good about the positions that we hold. Some folk feel good about the education we're acquired. Some folk feel good about what is happening by virtue of being in a relationship to a predominantly Anglo-Saxon, European origined community of disciples who have as one of their primary understandings of reality the ability to sit down and debate through what they believe God is doing in their midst. So we're just so happy to be at the table, and so that we have our debate so we can be part of the debate. And what many don't understand was we did not give up our individual journey, but we, like Preston Taylor, was moving underneath the hopes that our journey, in conversation with other journeys, would not be a matter of just joining somebody else's journey, but collectively creating an entire new roadmap and new journey and a new church, if you will. And some of us are still waiting for the new church.
Amen. Amen.
And trying to massage and fully understand the gifts of these ancestors of ours that literally gave up everything they had, just like Preston Taylor.
That's right. That's right.
So that something greater than anything they ever knew might emerge, something called the church, the Christian church, disciples of Christ.
Amen. Amen. Dr. Foulkes, I'm so grateful. I'm just going to back up slightly for folks that if they're not aware of who Preston Taylor is, right? So that he helped to
go ahead.
He helped to found. Well, no, I want you to come back in, but he founded the National Christian Missionary Convention. Before that, right, what was leading up to that, right, is that he founded Greenwood Cemetery, and you also serve on the board of Greenwood Cemetery and Greenwood Funeral Home, and helped to what is now Tennessee State University, right, but was one of the founders of that, as well as Greenwood Park. And folks all throughout the Nashville area certainly know his name, and that we are recipients of his extraordinary legacy. So that as you've been invoking his name, there is someone, and I think as you're talking about, right, that legacy is so important, that we can't just live for today. But I'm thinking about that there, in fact, the BDEF is comprised of a number of name funds, and there's also a John Foulkes name fund. I
might need to rob that bank, but
so I think it's important just to name that, right? That there are a number of name funds. There is a Compton Bunch name fund. There's a John Foulkes name fund. There's a number of name funds, and persons certainly can give and should give to those. But would invite you, even as we kind of bring our conversation to a close, to talk a little bit about. You've been talking about legacy, but the impact. What kinds of things has BDEF fund? What kind of difference has it made over time?
Well, first of all, we've when you put out a request for an application, the board has never just sat down and evaluated an application. They play like they do that, they made that claim, but in addition to doing that, if an applicant comes up with a great idea but really doesn't know how to frame it, really doesn't know how to order it, the board will grab that idea with them and help them massage it in a place so that in fact some change can take place. Because as the change takes place, we want to be Black Disciples Endowment Fund want to be a place where the visions and the dreams that emerge in the local congregations that can be resourced and brought to fruition by those folks, so they can see themselves and their mission not only working, but through the work of that mission, realize how the church does in fact grow and prosper. So that's, and the board struggles real hard to look at the stewardship of the resources, the granting of the grants, and all that. In fact, some of the most gifted persons I know sitting around the table, and I got a friend of mine who sat up there and listened to our discussion and made the comment that sometimes we don't know how to play nice with each other. And we don't oftentimes play nice with each other because of our investment in the integrity and the heritage and the calling out of vision and enabling the fulfillment of vision, so that our our brothers and sisters can see the God working in them, working together with the God working in others to, in fact, create vision.
Yeah.
And once that happens, Yvonne,
Yeah.
you can't turn those folk around.
Amen. 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 It's not just an administrative process. I hear it reaches into.
Yeah, you cause troublemakers all over the country, even old troublemakers.
Amen, amen. So I'm so grateful for this conversation because I don't think most people know, right, that it undergirds the Institute of African American Faith and Life. I don't think most people know that it helps to fund workshops at National Convocation and General Assembly. I don't think most people understand, right, that its gifts also, more recently, the CAM, Certificate of African American Ministry at Lexington, that it's the fruits of this fund that support and enable that work to happen. There's so many things behind the scenes.
If you turn around, I'm not aware of any other Black Christian organization that is functioning presently off of endowment, which means you've got to be look critically at the stewardship of the endowment, but it also means that you can be led where God leads you, and in that process, not be afraid to take some chances and to lift up your people when in fact your people are not really willing to lift themselves up. It's an awesome place to be. And I'm hoping that this fund continues to grow, not because it's the only, but because it taps into a concept of church that oftentimes we sometimes forget.
That's right. That's right. Well, I'm so grateful to you, indeed, to the board, and to the many ancestors and for folks that are still living, indeed, that have given to make this the dream and hope of this fund possible. And excited that a new grant cycle has begun in 2021, and we've already actually begun to receive applications. So grateful for you, Dr. Foulkes. Blessings. This is the first of more to come regarding Black Disciples Endowment Fund.
All right.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Ron.
Thank you.